What's going on, guys? Today we are inside of Affinity Designer version 2 and we're going to take a look at recreating this damage design that I've got right here. So if any of you guys seen the original video from Affinity when they announced their new features in version 2, you will see that they used the knife tool in order just to cut out little sections here and pull that away from the text in order to give it that smashed effect. So all we're really doing is kind of building off that original idea, apart from we're going to make it a lot more artistic. So if this is something you guys would like to learn, then let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that you want to do is set yourself up a brand new canvas. I've already done this just to be a bit quicker. And you guys can have any size canvas that you like. That is entirely up to you how big or small you would like your design to be. So what we need to do first of all is just decide what we want to write in order to use on our design. So if we make our way over to the left hand side toolbar menu, we'll go down to the artistic text tool. And then we'll just simply drag that out to get a rough size of the letters that we want to use. So I'll go for something like that. For me, I'll stick to my original design and I'll just write in damaged. However, you are free to write anything you like inside of here. So now I've got damage written. What I'm going to do next is just go ahead and grab my move tool over on the left hand side. I'm just going to center this in the middle of the canvas. And I can do that using these shortcut buttons up here on the top menu bar. So I'm going to align center. And I'm also going to align middle. Then I just want to temporarily change the color of this text. So if I make my way over to the right hand side to where the color wheel is, I'll just maybe give that a color of blue for the time being. Then what we need to do after that is just give this a stroke around the text. So if we head back over to the color wheel on the right hand side and we change from our fill color to our stroke color behind that. And for now, I'm just going to color that black. Then what we need to do is make that stroke a bit bigger because we can't see it at the moment. So to do that, we'll just go to the stroke menu up here on the top menu bar. Then inside of here, we just need to adjust the width. So you can either drag that to the left or the right to make that bigger or smaller. So I'm going to bring this up to roughly around 20 points. But you can use any size stroke that you would like. So that step is now complete and it doesn't look great looking at this, but it's definitely going to improve as we move on with the video. So what is important to mention at this point is you guys need to make sure you are happy with what you have written. As after this next stage, we are not going to be able to come back and edit this text to change that. So if you want to go ahead and change it before we move on, just simply go back over to the left-hand side toolbar menu, grab your artistic text tool, and you can just simply edit that and change it to anything that you may like. For me, I'll just leave that the way it was. So if you guys are happy to move on now and you're happy with what you've written, what we need to do next is go over to our layers section on the right hand side. Make sure that we do have our damage layer selected or anything you guys have written. Then from here, we're going to make our way up to the top menu bar where we have this option that says convert to curves. So once we select that, what this is going to do is it's going to create a brand new folder inside of our layers. And you can see if we open up that folder, it's converted each one of these letters into its own shape. Then what we need to do is select all of our letters at the same time. So if we go ahead and select the one at the top, hold down shift on your keyboard, select the one at the bottom. That then will select everything else that is in between. So once you guys have got all of your letters selected, what we need to do next is head up to the top menu bar on the left hand side to where we have layer. So inside of the layer option, we're going to make our way down towards the bottom to where we have the expand stroke option. So once you go ahead and select expand stroke, if you take a look over in our layers panel, you can now see that we have all individual shapes for our stroke as well. And with all of these automatically selected, what we need to do is hit Command or Control G to group. And we'll rename that folder from group to stroke. And we'll drag that folder all the way to the top. Then what we're going to do is the same thing with the rest of these letters. We'll go ahead and select that top one. Hold down shift on your keyboard, select the bottom one. So that selects everything else in between. Once again, we'll hit Command or Control G to group. And just like before, we'll rename that group to maybe just text or anything else that you would like to call that. So now we have these separated, the stroke and the text. We can go ahead and start cutting this out. So first of all, I'm going to start off with a stroke. So I'm going to open up my stroke folder. And just like before, we're going to go ahead and select all of our curves at the same time or our layers. So if we select that top one, hold down shift on our keyboard, select that bottom one. Then we're going to make our way over to the left-hand side toolbar menu and we are going to select the knife tool. Then we're going to make our cut from the left-hand side over to the right, then back over from the right-hand side to the left. However, you guys can cut this however you like. It's entirely up to you. So if you hold down Shift and Option on your keyboard or Shift and Alt, what that's going to allow you to do is just keep this completely straight, as you can see, but it's going to give you the freedom just to move that around and get it as precise as you like. So I'm going to bring that down roughly to about there, and I'll let go of my mouse to make that first cut. Then I'm going to come back up towards the top and just kind of give this a cross cut kind of effect. So I'm going to go all the way from that side, once again over to the other side, holding down Shift and Alt or Shift and Option to keep that straight. And I'll go ahead and let that go. So if we just go ahead and grab our move tool for the moment, it doesn't really look like anything has changed. However, if you pay attention over to the right hand side, the layer section, you can now see that we have all of these individual pieces that make up the stroke. So what we need to do next is start grouping all of these pieces which make up each letter. So I'll go ahead and select that top piece, hold down Command or Control on your keyboard while you start selecting the other layers. Then just start making your way through these to make sure that you've got all of the parts of the stroke that make up that letter D. Then we'll go ahead and hit Command or Control G to group. Then just to double check that we've got all of the pieces, we'll just turn the visibility off on that layer. And you can see that we've got all of that now. So I'll go ahead and turn that back on. Then with the group name, I'm just going to double tap and rename that D so I know which letter that is going to be for. Then it's just the same process with the rest of these letters. So we'll go ahead and select that first top one. Hold down Command or Control, start making your way through these layers to make sure you've got all of that letter. Hit Command or Control G to group. Once again, just double check your visibility to make sure you've got all of that in there. Double tap on your group and just name that the same name as the letter, which is an E. And then just continue doing that through the rest of your letters. So at this point, I'll speed up the video so you guys don't have to see me do this. But if you go ahead and pause it, and then once you catch up, we can continue with the video. Okay, so I've now assigned all of the individual stroke pieces to their very own letter group, so I know which pieces belong with which one. And what we're going to do now is start off on the letter D, which is on the far left hand side. So that is going to be the bottom layer here for me. So inside of this group, what I want to do is select the first piece that I want to move. So it's going to be that bottom piece right there. And all I'm going to do is just simply use my arrow keys on my keyboard, or you could use the mouse, it's up to you. But I'm just going to slightly just shift that over a little bit from its original position. And I'm going to rotate that slightly. And I'm going to start doing the same kind of thing with the rest of these pieces. Just move them away from the original letter and just rotate them all over the place just to make it look a little bit messy or broken. And we'll just continue doing that throughout the design. I think looking at this D, I might go ahead and break this one up again in a minute as well. But for now, I'll just continue just moving some of these little pieces around. Just make them look a bit more messy. Maybe rotate that one over there. And just like I said, I think I am going to cut that in half. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my knife tool and just go ahead and slice that. Then I'll grab my move tool once again, just select one of these pieces and just move that away from the other. Something like that will be perfectly fine. And it's going to be the same process across all of these different letters. So we'll go ahead and choose a different group, maybe that A now. Then we'll go ahead and just start moving all of these pieces around. And if you guys want to cut additional pieces, you are free to do that. So at this point, I will go ahead and speed up the video again, and you guys can pause it. So once you've caught up with me as well, just go ahead and hit that play button and we'll continue with the rest of the design. Okay, so this is what I've come up with, and what we need to do next is we're going to go ahead and close our stroke folder, and we're going to open up our text folder, and we're going to do very much the same thing that we did before with the stroke. However, this time around, we're going to kind of cut it out almost like missing pieces of glass that have been broken. So what we're going to do is head over to the left-hand side toolbar menu. Once again, we're going to select our knife tool. And what is a really good idea is that you guys make sure that you have your stabilizer turned on, as that is going to give you a much smoother curve when you start drawing these. As well as that, you want to be able to use your rope option. And what that is going to do, if I quickly demonstrate, is once you tap down with your mouse and you start pulling away, you can see that we've got this pink kind of rope there. And that's just going to make it a lot easier in terms of telling you where this is going to go. So you just kind of start dragging that along and just kind of go in the direction that you like to go. Then you can stop anywhere here, and you can see that we can freely move that around. And then we just move that into position, and then you just start pulling down in the opposite direction. And you can see with the stabilizer on just how smooth that curve was. And if you want a smaller rope, you can change the rope length right there. However, I'm quite happy with the way that was. So what I'm going to do is start cutting out the D. So over on our layers on the right hand side, I'll select that D. Then I'll come back over here and just start cutting this out. So I'll hold down on my mouse button. You can see my ropes now appeared. And I'll just start coming around and just making some random shapes or curves that kind of look like broken glass. So there's one. And we just keep making our way around. Just do as many as you like in any kind of shape that you would like. It's entirely up to you. And it's going to be the same process over each one of these letters. So you can add as many slices as you like. So that is fine for the D for the moment. Then we'll go ahead and we've got to do the same thing that we did before with the stroke. We need to find all of the individuals that make up that letters. So we've got that one there. We'll go ahead and hold down Command or Control to select the one underneath it. And we'll select all of those. Then we'll hit Command or Control G to group. And just like before, we know this is going to be the letter D. So we'll go ahead and rename that D. And we'll go ahead and turn that visibility off to make sure we've got all those pieces. And I'm going to do the exact same thing across all the rest of these letters. So just start coming in and cutting out random bits of pieces that you don't want in there. So I'll do this quickly just to demonstrate. So once again, guys, I will pause the video right now so you guys can go ahead and hit play once you've caught up as well. And we'll continue with the rest of this. So I've now cut out the remaining letters and I've put them into their own groups by their letter name. So we know which one is which. And this is definitely a bit tedious. So I do apologize how time consuming this can be. So now we've got this out of the way. What we're going to do now is the same thing that we did with the stroke. We're going to go into each individual letter and then we'll just start moving all these pieces around using either our arrow keys or just dragging that around with your mouse. Go ahead and just rotate that and move it wherever you like. And just do the same thing across any one of these bits and pieces and just kind of make it a bit more unique. So just move that one roughly around there and you can rotate them however you like. And just do the same thing across each one of these letters. So once again, guys, I will just go ahead and speed up. I do apologize, I keep starting and stopping the video, but I do not want you wasting your time sitting there for hours watching me do this, as I really appreciate the fact you guys have actually stuck around for this long. So I just want to adjust that D a little bit and just move that into a different position. And it is a case of just keep going back and forth and making it kind of unique and what it is that you're going for. So like I said, guys, I will go ahead and just pause the video, but just make your way through all of your letters and just start moving around all the pieces. And I will see you again in just a moment. So this is what I've come up with. It took about 10 minutes or so. And that is the reason why I keep starting and stopping the video, as I really don't expect you guys to sit around for that length of time just watching me do this in real time. So hopefully you guys have caught up and we can continue with the rest of the video. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and select one of our groups from our layers. So I'll go and grab that text one first. Then we're going to add an effect to this. So if we make our way down towards the bottom of our layers and we'll go ahead and hit that effects panel, inside of here, all I want to choose, I think, is going to be the outer shadow. And for the radius and the offset, I'm going to leave that at 5 pixels. And with the opacity, I'll leave that 100%. So I'll go ahead and close that. And if I just zoom in a little bit so you guys can see this, you can see that shadow around the outside of the shape there. It's not that big. It's just kind of subtle, but it's kind of the way I like it. Almost kind of looks as though it's a little bit 3D and it's sat on a surface. So I'll go ahead and just zoom back out with Command or Control 0, and that will fit to screen. So what we're going to do next is apply the exact same effect to the stroke. And one thing that I really do like with a new update with Affinity Designer is the fact that we can go ahead and grab this effect right there and just drag this and drop that on top of that layer. And then I'll go ahead and copy that. That really is a time-saving process and probably one of my favorite features so far. So if you find you're not happy with any of the pieces inside of here, you're always free to go back in and move any of them around if you like. I'll just leave it the way it is just to continue with the tutorial. So what we want to do next is now we're just going to change the colors of this to make it look a lot better. So I'll go ahead and I'll grab that stroke. I'll go back over to my color up on the top there. And I'm going to go ahead and choose my fill color and I'm going to color that white. Then with the text underneath it, I'm going to kind of make that a little green. So I'm just going to come in there and make that a bit darker. And we'll go ahead and change this in a moment with some blend modes and stuff as well. But that will do just for a moment. And what I'm going to do next, just to make this stand out a little bit more and look better, is we're going to give it a gradient background. So we'll go over to the left-hand side toolbar menu. We'll grab ourselves that rectangle tool and we'll just drag that all the way across from one side of the canvas to the other. Then I'll make my way back over to the left-hand side toolbar menu and we will grab the fill tool, which is this one right here. And I'm just going to drag from one side over to the other, just like that. Then in the middle, I'm going to double tap on there to create a new color. I'm going to give that the color black. And on the sides here, I think I'm going to have the color that we originally had, which is that green. So on the other side, I just want to use that same color that we've got. And that is up here on our color picker that we originally used. So we now have the same color on both sides. I just want to adjust these handles a little bit just to bring that black to be further over on both corners. Kind of more like that. Then I'm just going to grab my move tool and I just got to adjust the layers over here because our background is sat above the text. So I'll go ahead and just drag that down and then we can see the text through the background. Then what I'm going to do is go back to the stroke now and I want to give that a gradient as well. We're going to keep the color white, but we're going to add some gray, kind of give it the glass effect. So we'll go ahead and grab that fill tool once again, just drag from one side over to the other. Then in the middle here, we'll just double tap and I'll make that white. And over on both corners, we're going to go more into the gray area on that side as well as that side. And we'll go ahead and choose that same gray. Then what we're going to do after we've done that is we want to go ahead and change the blend mode of this so we can kind of see through it and see the layer underneath it. And the way that we would do that is by going up to where it says opacity. Over to the right hand side of that, we have this option here with a drop down menu. And inside of here are all your different blend modes. So for this, if we go down and I think if we choose hard light, that is a pretty good one right there. And you can see if I zoom in now, we can see really clearly through some of this. And it kind of gives us that glass effect that I was going for. So I'll go ahead and hit Command or Control 0 to fit to screen. Then once again, we'll do the exact same thing on the text that we did with the stroke. We'll change that blend mode. Although this time round, I'm going to choose soft light rather than hard light. And I want to go and add a gradient to this one as well. So with the fill tool selected, I'll drag over from one side to the other. And I'll go ahead and tap in the middle. Because I chose soft light, this isn't really going to show anything, which is exactly what I'm going for, as I want it to fade into the middle where it's pitch black. So on the sides here, I'll change that color to white and then we'll be able to see that on both sides of this. Then in the middle of it, it'll kind of fade in. And that is what I wanted to go for. So with the stroke, I think I just want to slightly adjust that white just to make it a little bit less bright in the middle. So something like there will be perfectly fine, as that stands out a little bit too much for me. So at this point, there's only a couple of more steps to take before this design is going to be finished. And one of those steps is we want to add a few bits of broken glass just around your text. So the easiest way of doing that is just going into your text folder, finding any one of these pieces of broken glass that we've already got. Make sure that you go and choose your move tool on the left-hand side toolbar menu. Then just hold down Command or Control on your keyboard while dragging away from that one. That then will make a duplicated copy of that. And all we got to do is just kind of resize that and just rotate that and move it into position. Once again, hold down Command or Control while you drag and make another copy. Just start rotating that, change the shape just a little bit, and just keep doing this throughout the entire image. And just place that into different positions and then just start rotating it and make it different sizes and different shapes. So I'll do this really quick and pause the video once again. Okay, so I now have all of my individual broken glass pieces around the text. So I'm going to go ahead and close that text layer. And I'm also going to go ahead and close that group. So what I want to do next is just add a little bit of light behind this. So I'm going to go over to my left-hand side toolbar menu. I'm going to select the pen tool and I'm going to draw myself a line, just maybe coming over from one side to the other, maybe in a cross direction, just like that. Then I'm going to go into my stroke menu up here on the top right-hand side. I'm going to make that width a lot bigger, maybe go for around 150. So just put that in manually. Then I'm going to change the color of this to be white. And it's automatically put itself inside of my group here. So I'm going to drag that all the way out and bring it just outside for the moment. Just going to close my group. I'm going to drop that behind the group. Then I'm going to go down to my effects at the bottom here. And inside of here, I'm going to choose Gaussian or Gaussian blur, however you like to pronounce that. I'm going to turn that radius all the way up to make that blur. And that's looking pretty good. So I might just move that. I'm going to grab my node tool and just move that into a better position. Maybe somewhere more around the top of the design and just down there a little bit on that side. Then I want to do the same thing and add another one of these, but we'll be a bit quicker here. So we just hit Command or Control C to copy and Command or Control V to paste. Then I'll go ahead and just move this one down towards the bottom and move that one into position as well. Then we'll go ahead and change the color of this one. So I'll go back up to my color wheel and I'm going to make that more blue, just maybe a bit more subtle. I kind of want to keep that glass look, so just a tiny little tint of blue, that's probably going to be fine. Then for the finishing touch to our design, all we have to do is warp it just to make it look that little bit more creative. However, before I do that, I've noticed on my A here, I forgot to pull that apart. So I'm going to quickly just go into my group, into my stroke, find that A and just go ahead and fix that one. So right there, I'll just go ahead and just turn that a little bit and just move that up. And that side as well, I forgot to cut through that. So I think I'll make another slit in that A. So I'll go ahead and find that centerpiece, go and grab my knife tool and just cut through that. Then I'll go ahead and just select that piece and I'll move that as well. Just rotate that slightly and just move it up just to look that little bit better. So I'm quite happy with the way that looks now. So now that's complete, I'll go ahead and close all of my group. So with our group selected, which is going to contain our stroke and our text layers, all we got to do is make our way down to the bottom of the layers panel, and we're going to choose this brand new warp option right here. Then inside of here, we have many different warp tools that we can use for our design. And you guys are free to use any of these that you would like. Maybe just experiment with a few and see what you prefer. For this design, I'm just going to go with this mesh tool. So once you've chose something that you are happy with, all we got to do in order to warp this is grab any of these handles that you can see and just start moving that around and just get as creative as you can with that. So I'm going to drag this up on each corner and maybe just pull that in a little bit on the center. And if you want to add additional points here, you can do so anywhere along the path by double tapping. And then you can just add additional little circles in there and warp that a little bit more. If you're not entirely happy with what you created, you can always come back up here and hit that reset button. Then that will take it back to the beginning and you can start all over again. But just to wrap up this tutorial, I think I'm going to leave this the way it is because I think it looks pretty good at the moment. So there it is. That is today's video on creating this kind of effect. I think if I was to change anything, it might just be that bright white light behind it. I'd make that a little bit more subtle on the opacity, just fade it out just a little bit. Just like that, I'll be perfectly fine. Other than that, I'm quite happy with the way that this looks. So I hope you guys found today's video useful. If you did, then please give me a thumbs up as it really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm and helps other people find my content. Of course, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you can keep up to date with all my future releases. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to those of you guys who have used the super thanks option on my video to donate some money, as well as buy me a coffee. I really appreciate you guys for doing that. And if any of you other guys would like to buy me a coffee, then you will find a link in the description. But for now, I hope you have a great day and I will see you in my next video.